Hello, my name is Arica Campbell. I'm making this video for my Arts and Early Childhood Education class at Northampton Community College. This is for my lab number 4, and this lab is focusing on a visual arts activity. One thing that I've learned so far while taking this class is the importance of process-oriented art, and that is the type of art that allows children to use their own imagination and their own creativity to create a project that is important to them and based on what they like and their interests. So for this activity, I decided that I was going to start off by reading a story about 10 Little Rubber Ducks. The story is by Arica Campbell, and I've learned that preschoolers tend to love Arica Campbell books. Between the words and the repetition and the photos that he displays, they really just seem to have a connection with Arica Campbell. And I know that's not for all children, but overall, a lot of preschool children do enjoy Arica Campbell books. For this activity, I first obviously observed the children for their interests and abilities. And I always feel like that's important, is to take a step back and just look at what the children are interested in and what they're able to do and what you want them to do as a professional. My next step after observing children would be to plan an activity. So I would take everything that I learned in my observations and I would use those to plan an activity that I think would support their interests and abilities. And also during this activity, I am working on practicing using the crowd technique. So I do have a few pages bookmarked in my book with just simple sticky notes that would allow me to remember to ask children questions while I'm reading. So I'm not going to read this whole story just given the time, but I am going to go through a few pages and just say what I would do while I'm reading to our young children. So this book is 10 Little Rubber Ducks by Arica Campbell. 10 Little Rubber Ducks. Chuggity, chuggity, chuck goes the rubber duck machine. Out pop little yellow rubber ducks, one after the other, one after another. The little rubber ducks are painted, bills red and eyes blue. So I have a sticky note here just to remind myself to ask children questions about this page. So the question that I have written down is, have you ever seen or explored rubber ducks? Where might you find a rubber duck? So I would just ask the children that question and see what their response is. And that connects this story to their own lives. So they can think of that time that they were in a bubble bath with their little brother or sister and they had little rubber ducks floating around. So then, I would go to the next page. And again, I have a sticky note here. They are packed 10 to a box and off they go. And this is a picture of a delivery truck with boxes. So for my sticky note, I have you ever received a package off of a truck? And that would allow children to think back in their own lives and see if they have ever remembered getting a package off of a truck, something like this. Again, then on my next page, it's to be loaded onto a cargo ship. Hello, calls the captain. And then I would ask the children if they've ever been near a boat or if they've ever explored a boat and if they know anything about boats and what boats are used for. Boats can be used to deliver boxes. Boats can be used for fishing or for cruises. There's a lot of different ways that children may be able to connect to a boat. So I would go through this story and I would stop at all of my questions. I know I do have one here on the last page about when the ducks are saying goodnight. And I just wrote a little sticky note about what children say before they go to bed. Do they tell their mommies or their daddies or their brothers or their grandparents that they love them? And what they do to get ready for bed. So after we read this story and we talked about the questions that I had in the book, we would move on to the art project. So I would have a space set up for the children to go and to use their imagination and their creativity to create a project. So I have a very wide variety of materials here that I would allow the children to explore. So I always like to start with just a regular white sheet of paper. I like to use white because it doesn't give them any type of background. They get to start fresh on a new page. I also have shells that they could use to use prints on their white paper. I have pom-poms here that they can use instead of using a paintbrush. I have a few black letters here that they could try to make their own words. I have tissue paper and little plastic noodles. I have different types of paints. I have a rubber duck that relates to the story, and I also have colored bubbles. I thought that was cool because this is an activity about rubber ducks, and they might be able to relate to bubbles while they think about rubber ducks. So for this activity, I'm going to start by just opening up paint, and this is just yellow, I guess it's Crayola paint. And what I'll do is I'm gonna take my pom-pom and I'm gonna place it in, and I'm gonna use this to kind of create maybe a sun up in the corner of my paper. And this is just a different way to explore. Instead of just giving children paint and paintbrushes, using pom-poms is a way to get them stimulated. That's another thing that I focus on when I like to plan lessons for young children is stimulation, which is giving them new and exciting materials to create while they are exploring. So I made my sun, and next I might go through my letters. I'm gonna put you back there, and with my letters, I might spell out the word duck. So I have a D here and a U, and I would encourage the children to sound out these letters to spell duck. So it might not be D-U-C-K, it might be D-A-A. So maybe an A, K, and maybe D-A-K for duck. And I think it's important to just encourage children to create something that's special and unique to them, and encourage them that what they're doing isn't going to look like anybody else's, because this is their own. So I have this here, and I'm thinking that I'm going to use pink. And with my pink paint, I'm going to try to make an imprint of this rubber duck. So I am going to get this, and I will paint the bottom, and then I might add a little bit of yellow. And as a professional, I can, encourage children to mix colors and see what happens when you mix pink and yellow. My yellow is a little thick, so you're not really seeing the pink, but then I'll take my duck and I'll make a duck imprint there and there and there. And then I'm going to take my bubbles, which are colored, and I am going to make art with bubbles. And this is something that really stimulates children, as it's something that they're probably not very used to, is creating art using bubbles. So I am going to get my bubble solution on my wand. Oh, it is falling out. And create bubble art. A few things that I would like to touch on before I wrap up this video is the different learning standards that I think this activity relates to. One that I would like to touch on is the Early Learning Standard 9.1V PKB, which says that children are going to participate in art activities and use a wide variety of materials. So when I looked at that, I decided to take all of these materials and allow children to explore and create their own activity. And also, talking about Northampton's Art as a Way of Learning, we're supposed to provide children with an abundant amount of art opportunities, and this is allowing children to do that. So this is my art activity. I hope you like it. This is just an example of what I created. And I would really just, again, encourage children that they are creating something unique and special to them. And as professionals, just support their ideas, encourage them to keep creating, and just keep being a positive role model for the children. Thank you so much.